Welcome back to Ready Player None, the only podcast that says, welcome to my twisted mind. Previously, Wade retrieved the crystal key, along with a clue that the third gate cannot be unlocked alone. With this presumably being a power of friendship thing, he's clued in his fellow Top Gunters as to how to get the key for themselves. Then he's gone on to exclude them from his plans, allowing himself to be captured by IOI in real life. Ripped from his home, because Ernest Cline is white and privileged enough to consider that an abstract sci-fi imaginary concept and not something that could happen in real life like with thousands of persons of colour in Trump's America. I'm sure the tastelessness won't end there as Wade is taken away to one of IOI's indenturement camps. Let's see if the Holocaust imagery reaches Detroit Become Human levels in Chapter 29. IOI's paddy wagon is taking Wade and the other two indents through Columbus. Through the harsh winter snow, Wade sees a drastically high number of homeless people and buildings that are in neglect. Tents and cardboard shelters lined the streets, and the public parks I saw seem to have been converted into refugee camps. Throughout the city, there's people gathered around burning barrels. Others waited in line at the free solar charging stations, wearing bulky, outdated visors and haptic gloves. Their hands made small, ghostly gestures as they interacted with the far more pleasant reality of the Oasis via one of GSS's free wireless access points. I hope this is the turning point where we finally start to realise that the Oasis is the problem. Finally, we reached 101 IOI Plaza. Do you see what it did there? The IOI building comes into view. It looks exactly as it did in the Oasis. 3 skyscrapers. One circular and the other 2 rectangular, so it appears to be the IOI logo from above. But here in the real world, they seemed much more impressive. The transport goes into a parking garage in the centre of the circular building, and it goes down a series of ramps until it reaches something of a loading dock. A sign over a row of wide bay doors read IOI Indentured Employee Induction Centre. Wade and the other 2 indents disembark the transport into the custody of some stun-gunned guards. Their handcuffs are removed and they're placed under a retinal scanner. I held my breath as he held the scanner... 2 helds? I held my breath as he held the scanner up to my eyes. A second later, the unit beeped and he read off the information on its display. Lynch, Bryce, age 22, full citizenship, no criminal record, credit default indenturement. Wade, as you remember, is now a completely hairless, pale man. Since IOI only has pictures of him from when he was in school, before he lost too much weight and too much body hair, presumably his new thin, pale appearance is going to help him remain incognito. The indents are led into an open room full of hundreds of other prisoners. They were all shuffling through a maze of guide ropes, like weary, overgrown children at some nightmarish amusement park. Reminds me of London MCM. There seemed to be an equal number of men and women, but it was hard to tell. Rude. Because nearly everyone shared my pale complexion and total lack of body hair, and we all wore the same grey jumpsuits and grey plastic shoes. I mentioned the end of Detroit Become Human as a joke. The line's going through security checkpoints to see if they're hiding any technology inside their skin or their tooth fillings. As a weird side note, metal detector A has a capital M, and B is either a double-barreled word or is a compound word split up by a line break. Everyone found concealing a computer or a phone is taken off to another room to have them removed. A dude just ahead of me in line actually had a top-of-the-line miniature Sinatra Oasis console concealed inside a prosthetic testicle. Talk about balls! This book is a load of balls. I'm glad you can still find something to be a cool, tough guy about in this concentration camp metaphor. After the checkpoints, Wade and the indents are taken and placed in cubicles and given cheap visors and haptic gloves. Inside a standalone simulation, he's given aptitude tests, cross-referenced against the education history of his fake identity. The idea is that they're testing him to see where his skills can be applied in the company. I made sure to ace all of the tests on Oasis software, hardware and networking, because of course he has the ability to ace any test put to him, but I intentionally failed the tests designed to gauge my knowledge of James Halliday and the Easter egg. If he passes those, he might have been placed in the Oology division. Oh, and here, it's actually textually said that he no longer looks like his school ID photo, but he couldn't risk bumping into Sorrento and being recognised. Hours later, he's logged into a chat room to meet with an indenturement counsellor named Nancy. She tells him he's been awarded the position of Oasis Technical Support Representative 2nd. Or the 2nd? Roman numerals again, I don't know. I would be paid $28,500 a year minus the cost of my housing, meals, taxes, medical, dental, optical and recreation services. I said recreation instead of recreation, I've been conditioned to. All of which would be deducted automatically from my pay. His outstanding income is going to go towards the debt that he owes IOI. But between things like deductions, late fees and penalties, people who come to work for IOI in this fashion end up owing more and more to them each month. It's amazing. The worst thing Ernest Cline can come up with to put his self-insert through is putting him back into tech support. He really hated that job. Then he's got a 600-page indenturement contract that he scrolls through. It contained a long list of disclaimers and warnings about my rights, or lack thereof, as an indentured employee. He scrolls through it and signs for Bryce Lynch at the bottom. Should have read the fine terms, Wade. This is where they'll get you. Even though I was using a fake name, I wondered if the contract might still be legally binding. I wasn't sure, and I didn't really care. I had a plan, and this was part of it. Let me see if I can whip up a version of Raymond Scott's Powerhouse for this next bit. So Wade is put on a series of conveyor belts leading him through the indenturement processing area. The first station he reaches takes off his jumpsuit and those plastic shoes, and then the second one, they ran me through a kind of human car wash. A series of machines that soaped, scrubbed, disinfected, rinsed, dried, and deloused me. You've got one of these in your apartment, Wade. You don't need to present it as an alien concept. Afterwards, I was given a new grey jumpsuit and another pair of plastic slippers. Station 2 gives him a complete physical, takes a number of blood tests, and inoculates him, using an array of automated needle guns that shot me in both shoulders and both ass cheeks simultaneously. I just thought you might want that mental image. While he's rolling along the conveyors, these omnipresent Big Brother screens are looping a training film. Indentured Servitude, your fast track from debt to success. The cast was made up of D-list television stars who cheerfully spouted corporate propaganda. Like who? What television stars? The only celebrities you've talked about are gunters. Give us more to your world, please. After 5 viewings, I had every line of the damn thing memorised. You memorise everything. By the 10th viewing, I was mouthing the words along with the actors. You memorise everything. He's not fooled by the propaganda, though. He knows that any indent can expect to spend the rest of your life as a corporate slave. Get a job, Wade. We can't all be do-nothing millionaire writers, gunters. At the last station, Wade is given one of those tracking bracelets for his ankle. Not only does it monitor his location, it also acts as a key card, allowing him access into areas he's authorised to go into. It's also capable of paralysing him with an electric shock, or flooding his bloodstream with a heavy-duty tranquilizer. In addition to the ankle bracelet, he's also tagged on the ear like an animal. Fans of Ernest Cline neologisms will be happy to hear this latest compound word, ear gear. Its proper name is an observation and communication tag. It allows the IOI higher-ups to broadcast announcements directly into his ear, and also contains a forward-facing camera allowing them to see what Wade sees. As soon as the ear gear's in, he starts hearing the placid monotone of the HR mainframe, droning instructions and other information. He's got no other choice but to get used to having the voice in his ear, and he's tracked constantly not only by his ankle bracelet but also omnipresent CCTV. At the end of the conveyor, the HR computer directs him to a prison-style cafeteria. I was given a lime green tray of food, a tasteless soy burger, a lump of runny mashed potatoes, and some unrecognisable form of cobbler for dessert. I devoured all of it in a few minutes. Can't be much worse than the takeaway food you normally get. He's permitted a 5-minute bathroom break because this place is micromanaged like a Dilbert strip, and afterwards he's directed to the lift. Automatically, the lift deposits him at Indent Hab Block 05. Tech Sup reps. He shuffles down a dark, carpeted hallway, dead on his feet, from not being sat down all day. The HR computer tells him he has 7 hours to sleep before his shift begins, and gives him directions to his assigned HAB unit, number 42G. Look, Ernest, he was already on the 42nd floor of the hotel. If you keep dropping in Douglas Adams tributes, it's going to take me completely out of the story. The HAB block reminded me of a mausoleum. It was a network of vaulted hallways, each lined with coffin-shaped sleeping capsules, row after row of them, stacked to the ceiling, 10 high. So 42G is like a battleship coordinate. He's in the 42nd column, 7 up from the ground. The hatch to his unit automatically opens as he gets near to it. He has to climb a ladder to get up to it. The inside of my HAB unit was an eggshell white injection moulded plastic coffin, 1 meter high, 1 meter wide, and 2 meters long. The floor of the capsule was covered with a gel foam mattress pad and pillow. I've stayed in worse hotels. There's also a camera mounted above his door. They wanted their indents to know that they were being watched. The only amenity in the unit is an entertainment console. A large, flat touchscreen built into the wall. It's connected to an Oasis-style visor, and it's personalised to his identity, lighting up with Lynch, Bryce T, Oasis Tech Rep 2nd, IOI employee number 338645. At the moment, it'll only let him watch IOI-N, a 24-hour news network run by the company that broadcasts non-stop propaganda. He can also access a library of tech support-related induction and training films. There are other entertainment libraries, but he's not allowed to access them until he had received an above-average rating in 3 consecutive employee performance reviews. One of the things it will let him watch is Tommy Q. The synopsis said it was a wacky situational comedy chronicling the misadventures of Tommy, a newly indentured Oasis tech rep struggling to achieve his goals of financial independence and on-the-job excellence. Wade gives the first episode a go and it turns out to just be a training film with a laugh track. He's more interested in sleeping off all the excitement, but he also knows he's being watched, so he puts on one episode after another, trying to stay awake to watch them. Despite my best efforts, my thoughts drifted to Artemis. They're watching you. As I've been told at work time and time again, you can't touch yourself on company time, put it away. Regardless of what I'd been telling myself, I knew she was the real reason I'd gone through with this lunatic plan. Yeah, Wade, you're only trying to free humanity from an ever-present malicious megacorporation. Of course the real reason you did it is to try and get your dick wet. What the hell was wrong with me? There was a good chance I might never escape from this place. I felt buried under an avalanche of self-doubt. Had my dual obsessions with the egg and Artemis finally driven me completely insane? Why would I take such an idiotic risk to win over someone I'd never actually met? Someone who appeared to have no interest in ever talking to me again. Where was she right now? Did she miss me? No. Leave her alone, you horny teenage idiot. Don't you just love a protagonist who's got his priorities straight? I continued to mentally torture myself like that until I finally drifted off to sleep. End chapter 29. Ernest Cline's the type of person who would use the word wage cuck. Don't you see that having to work every day is evil? The only thing pure in life is art and imagination. Especially when you're cribbing that art and imagination from the appropriated works of other people. They didn't make films back in the 80s to try and earn money in the box office. They were doing it for the sake of art. That's the most purest form of expression. If you work in an office, you're a corporate slave. Man, screw you, Ernest Cline. So let's just try and unpack the message here. Monopolistic corporations are bad. Correct, I agree. Smash capitalism. But people who actually work for a living, 9 to 5, are slaves. No, Ernest, some of us have to pay bills and afford food. You're saying that imagination is better than faceless corporations. Yeah, that is correct. Imagination is the most powerful advantage that humanity has. But all you do is appropriate movies and video games you loved as a child. So you're completely lacking in imagination. Can you see the contradiction there? And how much of that stuff you loved from when you were a child was produced or is owned by a monopolistic megacorporation? You're paying tribute to the very thing that you're saying you're against. Are you calling for a liberation from copyright? Are you trying to argue for a new age of fair use? And if that's your angle, why did you ever negotiate with Warner Brothers to get a movie adaptation? Where are you coming from? What's the message? You can't strive for a public domain utopia while also benefiting from capitalism. You hypocrite. You huge hypocrite. If you don't stop and think these things through before writing your book, that's how you end up with the subtext that the Oasis is ruining the outside world as causation rather than correlation. I'm really hoping that other shoe's going to drop at some point. I can't believe that 282 pages in I can still have epiphanies about the bizarre political outlook of this book. If you want more bizarre political outlooks, you can follow me on Twitter at @TheLastGherkin or follow the show on Twitter at @RPN_pod. Watch along with subtitles on YouTube, The Last Gherkin, and by this time, thelastgherkin.podbean.com is probably out of commission. Join me next time as we're on the final countdown. There are 10 chapters to go. Now, if you don't mind, I'm going to open a window. It's so hot in here. Welcome back to the Weekly Waggle, and it's personalised to his identity, lighting up with lice, Lynch, Bryce T. I continued to mentally torture myself like that until I finally drifted off to sheep. If you just heard that slap noise after another one of my amazing bloopers, it's because I'm not wearing any trousers and I slapped my thigh.